Welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm here with my co-host Vince, and tonight we have a special guest, Storm. Vince, give everyone a shout out.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be here today. Gonna dive into the paranormal today.
We are. So we're here with Storm today, who has an interesting tale to tell us, and it concerns his workplace. He works in a facility here. We can only give the name of the city in Gallup, New Mexico, and it's haunted. And he's going to tell us his experience at his workplace. Storm, you want to give a shout out and tell people hi before we get started?
Hey, hi, this is Storm from Gallup, New Mexico.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So last time we talked, Storm, you told me and my brother Vince about this place where you work, and you were telling about all this paranormal activity that goes on. So this place is supposedly really haunted, and we want you to tell us about it. So take it away.
Okay, yeah, where I work, the facility it's partially shut down, so there's just one guy at night, and which is me, or another one of the operators, and yeah, just a lot of crazy stuff happens. You get a lot of stuff, especially in the admin building. There's a lot going on in there throughout even during the day. It can be in the day or at night. You'll have like when I have to do paperwork at midnight, and when you walk in, there's a door that runs to a hallway that goes north and south, and when you're walking down that hallway, it's a solid floor. You know, there's no crawl space under it, so don't creak or nothing. So it's real solid, and you can hear your footsteps really well. And when you're walking through there at night, you can feel like someone walking behind you. You can hear it. You can hear the footsteps. It's just like they're just right there behind you, and you feel it. You feel it on your, the back of your neck, and it makes you wanna.
Does it make you want to quit your job?
It makes you want to poop your pants. So give us an example of, okay, so you're telling me you do your paperwork at night. So when you're sitting there doing your paperwork, so like I was just saying, so tell me about like when you do your paperwork in the admin room, what happens?
Well, like for example, where the manager used to be in his office, it's like a corner office, and his desk is still, it's in there. And I would say that's where the most odd things occur, because when you walk in, and anytime you walk in to leave there or to come in, you got to pass that office, and a lot of the times the phone will ring, and those phones are no longer connected. They're not live anymore at all. They're just in there. Every office still has the phone in there, but we don't, they're not used anymore, so they're not connected. And you'll walk in and you'll hear it. It'll ring. It'll give you about 3 rings, and then it'll stop.
So these are dead landlines that are not hooked up to a switch, so there's no dial tone, nothing on that phone when you pick it up, but yet they'll ring?
Yeah, there's nothing there. They're completely dead and pulled from service. They're just on the desk in case we ever decide to reuse the offices.
That's crazy. Now, I've heard of on other paranormal stories of similar events where the phone rings and there's no one on the other end. Maybe a similar situation.
Right.
Yeah, it rings constantly all the time. It won't matter if you're there during the day or at night. If you're in there, it's like someone's trying to get a hold of you, and
And it's just crazy how the timing when you walk by and it rings.
Right. That's.
And, I know the theory is that spirits manifest. They use electricity. Like for instance, they'll drain batteries and cameras. So the phones, they use a small amount of voltage to ring the ringer.
Right.
So that's a possibility of what's going on there. They're touching it or something. Just like in some investigations, you see children's toys will fire up and start moving.
Well, yeah, it could be the energy doing it, because if you look on like some of the ghost stories that are out there, today's technology, they use, what do they call them? The pods, the EVP pods, and
yes.
And they have the lights lights and they light up all the
Yeah.
way around. So, and those don't take much energy.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I've tried. One time I got pretty ballsy working because I'm there by myself at night. So I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna answer it, and I answered it, and I answered it, picked it up regularly. Hello, this is Storm, and I stated where I work because I have to answer the phone like that.
Right.
I was just seeing, maybe the line ain't dead, and I answered it, and nothing.
What would you have done if there was a voice on the other line that said Storm?
I'd have probably went home.
Yeah, I would have too.
Oh yeah, I definitely would have. Well, first I would have shit my pants. Then that would have been my reason to go home.
I would have probably spread it out and shit all the way home.
All right, so that's interesting. So go ahead and lead us into what else happens there.
Well, where an engineer used to be in the back office. Actually, from the last time we talked to, I got a little bit of insight on the whistling I was telling you about. It's
Right.
like an old man that, if you picture him sitting at his desk,
Right.
like sitting there whistling like that.
Wow.
You hear that at night from that corner office. And I was telling the guy above me, I was telling him, I was like, at first I thought you were full of it, that you'd hear that whistling, and I heard it one night, and I was telling him, and he actually told me, because he worked there when that whole facility was up and running in its prime, and and it's not how it is now, where it's half dead now. And he said there used to be a engineer that was, if you picture an old man, like an old man engineer with the plaid shirt, the suspenders, the high-waisted jeans
Right.
over his stomach and everything, he used to have that office, and then once they shut down, no one's used it since. And he found out, because the plant hasn't been running in about since 2011. And then shortly after that, he passed away around 2014, 2015.
Right.
And so I was thinking, like I was telling you, maybe this guy, because it wasn't, when you hear the whistling, it's not hostile. It doesn't
Right.
feel like, it doesn't give you chills. It's just, it makes you think like there's an old man back there working. And, I know for a fact there isn't, especially at midnight when I'm
Right.
up there. And you can hear it. You can hear whistling, and, maybe that guy maybe he loved his job so much, because I did hear back in the day those guys that worked there were super, they were devoted to their job. And
Right.
Yeah, yep.
He just doesn't, even though they may have forced him to retire, he just doesn't want to leave his job.
Right, and some people like that, they actually spent more time at work than at home. So
Right.
he was more attached to the workplace.
Yeah, I could definitely get that. And that's why he don't want to leave.
Yeah, that's why where I work will never be haunted.
That's right.
Fuck
He,
that place.
he doesn't want to cross over. And that's interesting. That's crazy. And you hear that constantly all the time?
well,
Or just certain
heard
nights?
I've only heard it like once, and then like the most common is in that where the manager was, that was in charge of the whole facility, because you'll get that, and then like the cabinets in there like to close too, like they're the building was made to be blast resistant, so the windows are fixed. All of the duct work isn't on the ceiling like you would imagine.
Right.
It's all on the floor, so there's really no draft in that building. It's a sealed building, and when you're sitting in there, right across from his office, there's it's kind of like a conference room. It's a computer room, I guess, would be more accurate. And we sit in there, and we have access to our computer. We can log in there. Also, that one is, all those computers in there are live. And so we'll sit in there. We can do our paperwork, or we'll do what we call rounds, and it's on like a little tablet where we have to fill stuff out. And if you're sitting in there, you'll hear it. That cabinet will, it'll. And at first I dismissed it, because that one happens the most in there. It'll happen in the middle of the day, as long as it seems like if you're sitting in there and doing your thing, it'll happen.
And so it doesn't matter whether it's night, day, that just happens all the time?
Yeah. I wouldn't, not like super constantly, but it happens really often. And my other coworkers, nowadays, it doesn't even phase them almost. Because the first time it happened, I was like, whoa, I was like, what was that? Someone else here? And they're like, no, it's just us. We're just doing shift change. I'm like, all right, Or, you stop by, you have to go into a system or something. So it might be two of you there at that point in time. And yeah, no, they're used to it. And I guess, now in a sense I am too, because it happens and you hear it and it closes and you walk in there, because at first I thought, windows open, whatever, I'll go close it. And then, I move the blinds and it's a solid pain. It's a solid, pain.
Yeah.
That is
So that one
crazy.
will happen too in there.
And I could imagine being a new employee and you walk in and you're like, what's that? Oh, that's just the local haunting. That's
Yeah.
the drawer opening and closing.
Right.
Okay, well, I rescind my job offer.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, it'd be interesting to see this stuff firsthand, but I know it's a secure facility and we wouldn't be able to go into it.
Right.
But it would definitely be
It'd be nice if you could set up like surveillance cameras.
right. Maybe catch something on camera. But yeah, and there's other things that happen in there that we were talking about off air. And you want to tell us what those are?
Yeah, so like it's kind of funny. I was making fun of one of my coworkers because in our where we sit in our office, that's in the facility itself. It's another blast-proof building, and this one's a little bit of a step up. So the doors aren't just solid wood doors this time. They're the big, thick metal doors that are made to withstand a certain like amount of force on them. And so when you open them, if you picture like Lord of the Rings, the orcs spinning the whole door open, and you hear all the sounds. That's how it sounds when you engage that door handle. It's you can hear the locking mechanism pushing all the bolts open. And at night it happens around 3 a.m.
The witching hour.
Yeah,
Yep, that's right.
coincidentally, it does. Around 3 a.m. you'll get one of them has a well, the way the doors are set up, on the outside it's a quarter turn lever, and then on the inside it's the push bar.
Mm-hmm.
And on the outside around 3 a.m. on our west side of the building, you'll hear it. It sounds like someone's trying to get in. And once you're in the center of the facility like that in that building, you got your cameras seeing all the entry points to the facility and all of that, so no one's there. And that one happens, I wouldn't say too often. The time I've worked there, it's happened about maybe 2 or 3 times. But it'll jingle, and you can tell it's almost like a kid's doing it, not quite strong enough to open the door.
Right.
But you'll hear it.
It's taunting you.
Yeah, we have one coworker that he's super religious, and that kind of stuff he's terrified of. And so he'll lock the door down with a cable at night while he's working there, because he whatever's trying to come in, he's trying to keep it out.
I don't know if I'm gonna blame him for that. I would probably do the same.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, after a while you think you'd get used to it like the other stuff, but it's funny what we could get used to.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it happens constantly, but I don't know if I'd ever get used to a door jiggling like that, and me knowing that there's no one there, no human presence there,
Right.
that it's something paranormal. Oh no, that's I say I'm a big brave man, but let's be real here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Every time it's happened to me, I get definitely like an uneasy feeling, like there's a part of me that wants to know what's on the other side of that door, but
Right.
I don't got the cojones to go out the other door and walk around and see. So I've never.
Right.
It's a little different than answering a phone.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they say curiosity killed the cat. So
Yep, the satisfaction brought him back.
that's right. Yeah, I know that, but that's so cool. And to experience stuff like that, I mean, we're interested in the paranormal and what happens, but when it it comes down to it and you're in that facility and things like this are happening, it's like, do I get the hell out of here? Well, you can't, because you're there to do your job.
Right.
But like someone, a visitor like me, I would be like, I'm out, peace.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's some cool stuff that happens there. And so why do you think this facility you work at is haunted?
You know, I'm not too sure. I do know one thing I was thinking about that my dad would always tell me growing up is those mountains that are behind it, those structures.
Right.
They're pretty sacred, you know, in Navajo belief. That's what I've been told.
Right.
And I've heard a story that right there in Pyramid,
Right.
I've heard a story right there in Church Rock that's where the dead live. I can't remember how to pronounce it in Navajo, but I've been told before that's where if you per se zombies,
Right.
or like the undead, I guess.
Mhm.
I've
Right.
heard that's where they reside. That's why the sand is different colored, and then white cliffs too. And I've heard a lot about in Navajo belief that a lot of strange stuff happens back in that area, and
Right.
it's almost like the land itself, is I wouldn't say cursed, but I guess just almost like a supernatural highway.
Right.
And we've talked about this before. Here in Gallup, there seems to be a lot of haunted locations.
Right.
But even before this town was settled here, this land has been inhabited for years and years by the native people. They've been living here. They've been passing through here. So
Right.
who knows? There could be burial sites all over that nobody really knows about. Or, when the construction companies come and do this, they're not going to report if they find a burial site because the archaeologists will shut them down.
That's right. The site would get shut down, and then I know firsthand from my job that once you dig up bones, everything gets shut down until they dig it up and determine, is this a historical site, a homicide? Yeah. So that's true.
Yeah, and that facility has been there since, I think it's been there since the 50s, late 40s, 50s is when it was erected. So
Right, and who knows what happened on that land before?
That's right. That's right.
It does. It borders, our fence line is, on the other side of the fence, that's reservation.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
at
so-
one point it was the reservation.
right.
And for our listeners out there, we're talking about Navajo culture and their beliefs, and many of you may not be familiar with it, but what you hear him talk about, they believe it and they take it serious. To them, it's not just a ghost story, or these are things that the Navajo people, not just Storm and his family, but the whole nation, they're familiar with it and they take this stuff serious.
Yes, it's their culture, it's their beliefs.
Right. And I'm curious to see if there was anything that happened on that land, or maybe, who knows, maybe a battle, like you said, before that facility was there may have been bodies buried there. And of course, we all know, not only in Navajo culture, but in the paranormal society, if you disturb land where someone was buried, supposedly you may get hauntings. And
Right. Well, they didn't even have to be buried there. If somebody just died there, passing through, and they took his body, buried him properly,
That's right.
his spirit may reside in that spot.
That's right. So, and anything else happen out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a boiler house, and it's this big old building. It's been there where you even question if the walls are made of asbestos.
There's a good chance they are.
I'm gonna bet. I'm gonna bet they are.
Yeah, so it has windows on it because we keep compressors in there and all sorts of equipment, different kind of equipment. And when you pass at night, the whole all the buildings in there, they're all lit up at night. We keep them lit because you got to walk in and out, doing your thing, running your rounds, and they will. The windows in them, they're that opaque glass, that real wavy.
Right.
You see them it's like a shower door almost.
Yeah.
And at night, driving by in the little cart, and when you're looking, it'll look like someone's walking around in there. You'll see a shadow walk around, and even when you walk in there, you automatically get this sense like you're not alone. Because you gotta go in there, you gotta do your thing, turn a couple valves, that kind of
Right.
thing. And you'll see people walking by. You'll see the shadow, and then when you go in there, there's no one, because you can see all the way down the whole building to the end.
Right.
Everything's up to the walls, and there's the walkway, and so you'll see the building. And I've never run into anybody out there.
Not even who's the living.
Right.
Yeah,
No one alive anyway. But that's. What do you think about that, Vince?
I think that's crazy. I mean, how long have you been out there at that facility?
At this facility now, I've been out there coming up on a year.
Now, do you find yourself getting used to this stuff, or does it bother you as much? I'm sure the first time you heard it, it kind of freaked you out.
Yeah. The first time, definitely, I was a little shook.
Right. No, and that's understandable. I mean, but you're right, Vince. I mean, you may get used to it.
Right, like we talked about in a previous episode, the house I lived in here in downtown Gallup, it was haunted. And after a while, it didn't bother me, and I almost didn't hear it. It's like I was blocking it out. But I knew stuff was still happening because my kids would tell me. I heard footsteps and this and that, but I would still hear the pots and pans coming off the shelf at 3 a.m. But I just got used to it. I'm like, I'll pick it up tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it doesn't, that I'm completely used to it, because it interests me, all the paranormal stuff, hunting for the Sasquatch and Bigfoot and aliens. All of it interests me, because I do not believe we're alone.
Right. No.
And so it interests me. I would say from time to time, though, I get a little uneasy, but
of course, especially being alone.
Yeah, because I'm the only one out there, and then I start getting in my own head. But what's funny is about everything that happens, it doesn't feel like threatening. It doesn't feel hostile. Like
Right.
You see someone walking in there, it almost feels like. I would definitely be curious to what happened to cause all of these, because it feels like it's just people that never wanted to leave their job.
And it may be, what do they call it, a residual haunting, where it won't really interact with you. It's just somebody doing the routine they did before, like walking down the hallway, opening that cabinet, or walking in and out that door.
And usually those hauntings, they occur at the same time every day.
Like a video being replayed.
That's right. So it may be that, but then again, it takes us back to, why is this place haunted?
Right.
What occurred there that you're possibly getting the residual hauntings?
Yeah, and a lot of times the residual is just somebody attached to that place.
Right.
Like, and something may have happened to spark it. Like these old houses that they buy, if they start to remodel or alter it, they might spark a residual haunting.
Right.
And now that building's not really occupied no more, maybe something happened that sparked it there.
It could be, and it would be interesting to see, because this building's been there for a long time.
Over 50 years.
And it'd be interesting to talk to some people that have actually worked there. Let's say 10 years ago, and maybe did this stuff happen then? That'd be interesting to dig a little into the history. But what we got now is what's happening today.
Yes.
And
he touched on something, not to get off subject, but I want to ask his opinion. He talked about interest in Sasquatch. Now, there's many theories about Sasquatch. Do you think it's a flesh and blood animal, or do you think there's something spiritual about it, how it could disappear,
I'm not too sure. I would say I would say it's flesh and blood, because I think we don't know everything that's out there.
Right.
And
no,
I think they don't. They kind of, too many people have reported seeing them.
Right, but they also report they just disappeared.
That is
one step into the forest and they're gone.
And look at it, like some of the people that have tracked them, and they follow the footprints, especially in the snow, and it ends and they're gone. It's like, okay, well, where did they go?
Yeah, but the theory is they are great apes, so they could be up in the tree.
Right.
Yeah, something. I never considered that, but Yeah,
Yeah,
I would.
just when you follow with other people, different camps, they got different theories. I don't know if you've heard that. People say when they see orbs in the forest, that's usually when they have a sighting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people have said after they've had their sighting or prior to their sighting, they've seen UFO activity,
Right.
and then they get a sighting. So it I guess it'd be interpreted by each person individually,
Right.
depending on how you've witnessed your sighting.
Now, we've been out to the Hamas several times. We've heard stuff, but we've never seen lights, orbs, UFOs.
No, but
We've
we've
never been sober.
right, but we've heard them
Yeah.
definitely. And yeah, I'm gonna agree that it's a flesh and blood creature.
Okay, but that's another episode. Getting back to
Right.
Storm and the haunted facility.
That's right.
Now, do you feel comfortable going to work? Though I don't.
Yeah, it don't really bother me. I've never.
It don't seem malicious. So as long as it's not malicious, I really don't see a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And as long as it's not attaching.
Right. As long as you don't bring it home and.
I go home and I feel fine even there, like when I don't dread, like, oh man, it's getting close to midnight, I gotta go to the admin building.
Right.
I go in there, do my thing, and from time to time when something happens, I'm like, whatever, I'm going. And then
I'm sure, I know it piques your curiosity, but I know your family on both sides, your mom and dad's side, they're going to tell you, don't mess with it.
Yeah. If I listen all the time, probably not.
Yeah.
But
Right.
They'll tell you to don't listen, don't mess with it, pray, stay away from it.
Avoid it.
Yeah.
Don't let it attach, because if it
Exactly.
attaches, you're going to bring it home and you'll never get rid of it. And then you'll have to do all the ceremonies. And yeah, so I don't know.
We'll have to come to town and cleanse you.
Right.
Special way.
Right. and do they tell you that? Just.
No, not really. I'll tell them about it and stuff, and my mom's just, she's usually like, just tell them it's okay, go home, wherever they gotta go or gotta do after they've moved on. Tell them it's all right. Take a day off.
Say, what are you doing here? You're not getting paid.
That's right. It's like, I'm punching the clock. You're not. You could leave.
Yeah.
But they won't.
Some actually that I forgot that's really cool about the admin building is we got a plant cat. She's a big tomcat looking, she's all gray, got the big yellow eyes,
Right.
Her name's Bernie.
Feel the burn.
Yeah. No. It's Bernie the cat.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. And, what's funny about her is she comes up, at night, you can see her, and I don't like the cart at night. It's nice at night unless it's freezing, then
Right.
I'm gonna use the cart and get where I need to go. But if it's not, I'll walk around. I got 12 hours to kill. I ain't in a hurry for nothing.
Yeah.
And so, I'm walking around, and she'll walk with me at night, but when we get by the admin building, she'll start meowing like she's talking, like meow 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 meow, meow. And she'll keep doing that, and it won't be, she'll act like she don't even know you're there anymore. It's like she ain't talking to you.
She's focused on something else.
Yeah, because when you walk out of that, where I was telling you, where you walk in and you have to walk past the manager's office where it is, on the outside of it, there's an outside eating area where we got some grills, and there's a little cover there, like I guess like an awning almost, and that's the smoking area, and it's lit at night. There's the fluorescent lights, so it's lit all daylight or at night. It's nicely lit up, and she'll walk into that area because it's fenced off,
Yeah.
and she'll walk in that area, and she'll walk in there, and she'll just keep meowing and meowing, and she's like looking around, but it's not like wondering looking, it's like sharp movements that she's
She's seeing something move.
Right.
yeah.
Well,
I always I try to talk to her. I'm like, what are you looking at, Bernie? Like,
As long as she don't.
yeah, she
flare up.
Yeah.
It's just like she's talking, and then she'll just walk off again, and she'll forget she was walking with you, and because she's super friendly. She's been there since she was a kitten.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to something you had said earlier was, guys that worked there 10 years ago.
Right.
There's a couple guys that still come around that come from another facility that we're intertwined with, and they they used to work there when it was up and fully functioning, and they remember her when they took her there as a kitten, you know, to have
Holy shit.
have for a shop.
Right.
And they said, you know, she's always been like that. And then they used to say the guys that worked there when that was a fully functioning facility, they were dedicated, and if they saw the way that facility was now, they'd be turning over in their grave. So I thought about that.
That
And,
could be it.
they said those guys were about it. They did not. They would be furious if they seen it. So I wondered, you know, like what you were saying earlier, because it's not running anymore, if they feel obligated to
Go back and try to get it started. Maybe,
Right. Well,
maybe they're back there trying to do their job.
Yeah, they're like, well,
Like
we ain't gonna do it.
Now the guy who worked there before that knew the cat as a kid, did he say anything about hauntings?
No, I haven't actually asked him. He said though, you know, when at night, because for a while he went down with the ship when it first closed doors and, you know, was only a partial running facility, and he said, you know, at night she's always done that since day one.
Wow.
The minute she was big enough that she started leaving our big shop area and wandering around on her own, she would do that. She likes to go sit up there at night, and he says, he asked me, and I haven't seen her yet, but he did tell me she'll get on top of the tables and she'll sit there on her side like she's being pet, you know, where the cat starts waving its tail and everything. And he says, if you watch her from inside the admin building, you'll see, you know, like she's getting, like someone's touching her.
Well, if you see that happen, jump up on the desk and leave it. Maybe you're be next in line.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
No, but it's interesting what happens out there, and that's interesting story, Storm. I don't know if I would truly like to experience it. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't.
I would.
Yeah, I would, as long as it's like the safety word. My safety word is enough. Let me go. I'm out.
Yeah.
Enough. Yeah, but it would be definitely an experience. And we thank you for sharing your story with us. And as you, our audience, you tell us what you believe. Do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe things like this do occur? And if you want to get in touch with us, this is how you do it. Email us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. Any closing words, guys?
Nope. Just thanks to our guest Storm, and hopefully he'll come back and give us an update, share some more stories.
That's right.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for having me, and I got, you know, we can keep talking on and on.
Yeah, we could come
another
back later
episode.
and talk some more Squatch too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we may do that because I do believe you did have a personal sighting.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a Sasquatch, but yeah, all I can say was that's the closest I've ever been to peeing my pants.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening. And if you like what you heard, hit the subscribe button and join us next time.
Peace out.
Peace out. Thank you.
Later.